Interesting. All right, let's go to E.W. Jackson. E.W. Jackson ran for Lieutenant Governor 2013, ran for U.S. Senate. When was that? 2018. And Bishop E.W. Jackson, also a frequent guest host of the John Fredericks Radio Show, has his own show. And you know what they did to him the other day, Chris?
What's that?
Banned him from Twitter.
I'm outraged.
E.W. Jackson, banned from Twitter.
Outraged.
I was banned from Twitter for about a week.
Even more outraged.
But I got back on.
Right.
Because I went right, I made a big stink about it, and I got reinstated. They never told me why they banned me, and they never told me why they reinstated me, but I was happy to be back on. But E.W. Jackson, banned from Twitter. E.W., great to have you with us.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me, John. And yes, I have now joined you and your guest as one of the people who's been banned from Twitter. They did tell me why, and it's interesting you're talking about Iran, because they banned me because of a comment that I made about Andy West's reference to Christians manipulating people to get converts, and in a sense implying that the attack on Christians in Sri Lanka was to some extent justifiable or understandable. And I responded to that and said, that's anti-Christian bigotry, and you can't compare what Christian missionaries do, whatever you may think of their methodology, to murder of people in churches, in worship services, in hotels. And believe it or not, I think you may think, well, you're cleaning that up. It was just that innocuous. And they told me that you're not allowed to promote violence, threaten, or harass people based on a whole series of things, including religion. And I refused to take the tweet down and said, explain to me how that tweet promotes violence, threatens anybody, or harasses anybody. So it's a really weird situation. I mean, I've said some things that I could almost understand that they would say, well, that's a little bit over the top. But this, to me, was really fairly milquetoast. I mean, the guy's comparing Christian missionary work to the murders of Christians in their worship services, and I pointed that out, and he's on, and I'm off.
Well,
and so go figure.
You think you were just targeted? You think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back for them, EW? What do you think?
I do. I think that, there's been an ongoing debate. I made a comment about Buttigieg and the way he announced his campaign and kissing his husband and all of that. And what I said was, but I said this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, because I'm always accused of wanting a theocracy in America, which is not true, because Christians understand that if you have an official religion in America, well, whose religion is that? Whose Christianity is that even? That's not what we want. We just want our values considered. We want our ideals considered, because we believe that that's what helped build this country and make us the greatest nation on earth. So they accuse me of being a theocrat. You want to create a theocracy. And as a play on words, I said, well, no, but given the attacks that Buttigieg issued against Vice President Pence, who apparently had always treated this guy with decency, with respect, had never had a problem with him, I said, it seems to me that Buttigieg and others want to create a homocracy. And it was off the cuff, play on words, but social media just went crazy. And I think that might have been sort of what was underlying this, and that this became the convenient excuse for banning me without pointing that out. So, but at any rate, I'm appealing. I'm thinking about filing a lawsuit if they don't put it up, because they said if you take it down, we'll put you back on within about 12 hours. But if you don't, there's an appeals process, and they had implied, and that could take a while. So I've appealed.
Why not just take it down and get your Twitter back up?
I tell you, John, for me, it's a matter of principle. Because if I do that, and look, if I really believed that in some sense I had crossed the line, or that I'd said something that I really regretted, or that I thought I'd never promote violence. I mean, I abhor the idea of committing violence against people because of political differences. I think the left is what's doing that more and conservatives, certainly. There may be some crazies on the right who would do it, but I can't stand the idea. I would never do that. But if I thought I crossed that line, I would gladly take it down and would apologize. I mean, I believe that you got to own your mistakes. But this was just, to me, it was nothing. And this is what they used to ban me. So what's next? If I go along with this, then what's the next thing? So I feel that, this is my line in the sand. I've drawn it and said, you know what, I'm not taking it down. I want to see what they say to my appeal, because I did say, point out to me what in this tweet threatens violence or harasses anybody on the basis of anything. I simply make a factual statement. And by the way, you all are talking about it in a sense. Look, I know that most Muslims in the world probably are peaceful people. Most Muslims in the world are law-abiding people. Most Muslims in this country are. But there is a problem in Islam, and it is not a small one. Iran is part of that problem. Brunei is part of that problem. It's just passed laws to execute gays. There is a problem in Islam, and I don't know why somehow it's bigotry to point that out, because if we don't point that out, how is it ever going to get addressed?
Well, you have to be able to talk about the issues at hand, and I think when you don't, that's when you really run into trouble, when you start censoring criticism of anything, when the criticism is on the policies and the procedures that are going on, which you have attempted here to do. And so I understand.
And John, let me say this really quick. These companies are like mini states. They are so big, so powerful, so influential that we simply can't allow them to control our speech, because they simply have too much power and influence to allow them to do that. So something's got to be done.
I agree with you there. I mean, having gone through the Twitter banning myself, I mean, when you've built up, thousands and thousands of followers, and took me an 8-year period the old-fashioned way, hard work and organic, and then one day you get up and it's just gone. All of your followers are gone. Your Twitter account is gone. You have no access to that. It's really unnerving, because it's like, well, I can just get banned for anything, and all the work that I've done to build this up, and I have a platform, and people follow me there, and that's where they get information. That's what I've trained them to do. And then you just get up one day and it's wiped out by that company that you've invested in, even though you have not invested money. You've invested tremendous time and effort, and you have no recourse. I mean, I filed an appeal. I had no idea why it was taken off, and I had no idea why it was put back on. Although I did go to various people. I mean, I made a big stink about it. I did a press release on it, released a press statement on it, went to all of my friends in the media, and so probably they just didn't want to deal with that, because I don't really do anything wrong. So I'm just a thorn in their side. But it's for everybody, that has invested in this medium, and you have no alternative. It's not like if they take you off, well,
right.
You can take, it's like, okay, say you're doing constant. Here's a difference. Let's say you're doing constant contact, and you've got, I don't know, a 30,000 email list that you pay for. Now those emails are backed up, right? You've got a backup system, so
right.
Who all those people are. It's backed up, right?
Right.
But there's no backup system on Twitter. So if Constant Contact says, I don't like the emails you're sending, I'm kicking you out of the company, well, there's 5 other companies to go to that are going to send your emails out for, $150, right? So you got plenty of choices. You don't have that with Twitter, right? Twitter's the only game in town, and I guess you could make a list of your followers, but then if it's on Twitter, it doesn't matter because you're banned. So there's no recourse. You're completely powerless. That's the problem.
And John, that is a major problem. And look, I may be beginning to change my opinion on keeping government out of the process. I think we may be getting to a point where companies like Facebook and Google and Twitter and these major media companies are going to have to be broken up or something, because we simply can't allow them to monopolize our ability to communicate this way and, in effect, really control and restrain free speech, because that's exactly what they're doing. So they may be forcing me to begin to change my opinion about what needs to be done with these companies.
Well, when
and by the way, John, let me also mention this. There is an anti-Christian bigotry that is going on in these companies, too. We saw that with the way Kate Cole James was treated with Google on their artificial intelligence board. And I think we're seeing some of that in Twitter and Facebook as well.
I've got about 2 minutes. Actually, no, I am running out of time, EW. I'm sorry. I misread my clock here. I am out of time. I want to thank E.W. Jackson for being with us. We're going to continue this discussion, E.W., at a later date. Thank you, E.W. Jackson. And also,
thank you, John. Thank you.
All right. E.W. Jackson, banned from Twitter. We're going to be following that. I'll be right back. Me and Saxman, we got another hour. Stay with us. We're live in Richmond.